What up, everyone? Back for another video. Sorry I've been away the past couple weeks, but been dealing with a lot of health issues, so I may have to go back to the once a month thing with just the monthly review, but we'll see. I'll try to keep doing it, but it is what it is. Anyway, got 4 boxes here. These are all the boxes of September, because we are just now going into October, but they're kind of all over the place. So, without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. Going from small to big. First off, Geek Fuel. So Geek Fuel has gone back to their monthly subscription box. Excuse me. And which I thought was going to be a good thing, because for the longest time they did their t-shirt club thing, which was basically just a t-shirt and a pin. Now they've gone back to the box, which I would assume is better, but not really. So let's take a look at what we got inside. So instead of a t-shirt, we got a reaction figure from Masters of the Universe. I just assumed that the t-shirt would be part of it. I assumed it would go back to the old style of box where we'd still have the t-shirt and we'd have other items. Instead, they've just switched out the t-shirt for a different item. So I thought it was going to be a good thing them going back to the box, but it just kind of seems like a lateral move. They just replaced one item with another item, so I don't really know how I feel about that. I wish they would go back to the old box style, because I do like the shirts. They do have good shirts, and honestly, I hate reaction figures. Super 7 charges way too much for all their stuff. They do some good products, to be quite honest, but the reaction figures, they've never been good. They've always been crappy, not worth $20. And honestly, Master of the Universe is okay, but you get these off-brand characters, so it's really nothing special about it. And when you look on the description card, they show all the Masters of the Universe stuff they have, because they did have a t-shirt, and they did have a pin, but they want you to buy it. So they actually had that stuff, they just chose not to put it in the box and sell it on their website, which is kind of a dick move, and it just goes to show that this company is not headed in a good direction. They still seem like they're eventually headed for bankruptcy, because it just doesn't seem to be picking up. So as far as value on the reaction figure, it'll go for about 15 to 20, because it depends on who you got. If you got a lame character like this, it'll be 15, around that price. If you got a popular character, a little bit closer to that $20 range. Then, we got a patch. Now, this is a stickable patch, so it's kind of like a sticker where you peel the back off and you stick it on there. So it's still a patch, it's got that texture to it, but it's also like a sticker, so it's kind of half and half. Value on that's like $8 to $10. And then the last item was a pin, and you got one of a variety of pins. I think they were all Marvel or X-Men themed. I got Professor X. Nice pin, good quality, and those go for like $10 to $15, again, depending on which character you got. So those were all the items in there, and that brings our value on the low end of 33, on the high end of 45, which is not great. This ends up being like a $25 box. Oh, whoops, moving. I can have my spot back. $25 box, so you're only getting a little bit more than you paid for, which is really not great. It's better than they've been doing. With the t-shirt club, the value is a little bit better, and the resale value is a little bit higher, because it's really hard to resell t-shirts and things like that. But the quality was better with the t-shirt bag, because the t-shirt quality was really nice, and I actually ended up wearing those shirts. So again, it seems like a lateral move, but all things considered, I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10, because it is still a decent box. The value is pretty terrible, but if you were a big Masters of the Universe fan, you would enjoy this box, but it's just not really worth the money. So it's just barely worth it. And I keep holding out hope that they're going to turn things around and go back to the old system of things, but more and more as the days go on, it just seems like I should let go of that dream and just kind of move on, because it's been such a long time since this box has been worth it, and it's just been a real disappointment. It's such a bummer to see, too, because they've been around pretty much since the beginning. They've been a subscription box company for, I think, like 10 years, and I've had them for pretty much that entire time. So, very sad to see, but, it is what it is. Next, Marvel Collector Core. Stay. So, nothing really surprising here. Got a t-shirt. Smells nice. So the t-shirt quality is always decent from Funko. It's not fantastic, but it's not horrible either. And the t-shirt design is okay. Again, I always say this, I wish they would come out earlier, so come out before the movie so I could wear this to the premiere, because that's probably the only time I would wear a shirt like that. And I said it a million times, I wish they would get rid of the Funko design shirts and just do comic design shirts that are in theme for Thor Love and Thunder, but I just don't think that's ever going to happen. But as far as the score on the shirt, it's going to get a 7 out of 10 because it is a decent design. It looks cool. I like the color scheme. Decently fit, all that stuff. And as far as the value, it'll get the standard $12 to $15 value. Next, we got our pop figures. And I think it's just the standard that we get 2 every time now. So we got 2 of them, obviously very similar ones. We have Thor, and we have the Mighty Thor. That's what they're calling Jane Foster's Thor. I always called her Lady Thor, but I don't think that's actually a technical term. But yeah, they're calling it the Mighty Thor. Prices on those are pretty similar, but not exactly. Thor is going for $20 to $22, and Mighty Thor is going for about $18 to $20. So $2 to $4 difference, not a big difference, but I'm kind of surprised. I assumed Jane Foster would go for a little bit of a higher price because she is a really popular character. I guess maybe not more popular than Thor, but I really wasn't a fan of the look he had in Thor Love and Thunder. I think they were intentionally trying to make his suit like over the top and ridiculous, but that's kind of how it looks. It's just a really ridiculous look, and I'm not a fan of that costume and that color scheme, so the movie was fine. I still enjoyed it, but his specific costume in that, wasn't really a fan of it. I like Jane's costume a lot better. So then we got a pin of Korg, and I'll say it again, I really wish they would give a backing to this. A simple 2-cent backing would make this so much more collectible, but those go for about $6 to $8, which is pretty standard. And then we got our decal, and that goes for like $6 to $10 if you wanted to buy it, but I should mention that that's the listing price it's going for, but it's not selling for that. No one's buying it because no one wants to pay that. So technically, if you wanted it, you would have to pay $6 to $10, but I don't think it's worth that. That being said, that brings our value on the low end of 62, on the high end of 75, which is actually really good. This ends up being just about a $30 box, so even on the low end, you're getting pretty much double what you paid for, which is really good. So even if you take into account that that sticker is not really worth that price, that's still a pretty decent value. Get out of here. So, that being said, I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I think it's very well done. This is always going to be one of my favorite boxes. I rarely love the themes they do. They pick odd themes. This one makes sense because obviously it's a recent movie, but a lot of the themes they picked in the past, not so great, and some of the pop figures they picked, not so great. Some of the shirt designs, not so great. But it is all exclusive, it is all Funko, and it is all Marvel, which are all good things. So, all things considered, I think an 8 out of 10 is merited. Moving right along. Not much to say about these boxes when they give the same thing every month. Alright, Bam Box. They've got some new shit going on, so let's talk about that. Get all the things out. Alright, first off, let's start off with the autograph. Come on. And the autograph is Jake Busey from Starship Troopers. Now, this is probably one of their lower-end autographs. Obviously, it's someone that's recognizable if you saw the movie, but if you didn't, not recognizable at all. So that being said, the value on this is only going to be about $20 to $25, which is lower than the average autograph. Usually, typically, they're in that $25 to $30 range. More popular people, $30 to $35, and really popular people, $40 and up. And then the less popular people, 25 and under, and like the no-name people, less than 20. So it's pretty much like D-list because there's really nothing else notable that he's done. I'm sure he has done other acting jobs, but nothing that he would be super recognizable for. So when you have someone that's only recognizable for one thing, and that one thing is already pretty obscure, that brings down the value pretty significantly. I love that movie. I love Starship Troopers. I think it's a fantastic movie. But even still, like he had a pretty small role in that anyway, so I'm still happy to have it, but pretty low on the value as far as autographs are concerned. Next. Travis English art print. Now, I do like that they're doing a little bit better with the art prints. For the longest time, it was like fan art, which is fine, but it looked like fan art. It looked like someone's cheap doodle that they did and colored on MS Paint or something like that. It was always very low in quality and very cheap looking. At least it has a more artistic style, and at least they're printing it on more artistic, like heavy weighted paper that has some texture to it. So I appreciate that they're trying to make it look nice. As far as the art quality, the artists themselves, not super famous. Someone that does art, obviously, and probably sells their art, but couldn't find too much information on him specifically. But at least they're trying to pick things that actually look cool. I think this looks cool, would look cool in a frame, but obviously isn't going to be worth that much. It's going to be about $8 to $10 value on that. And again, I keep saying it, they should switch out the art prints. I kind of miss the prop replicas. They weren't always great, but honestly, the art prints are almost never great. So it kind of, I disliked the art prints a lot more than I disliked the prop replicas. Some of the prop replicas were really well done. And I keep saying they should switch it out. Don't do a print every month. Don't do a prop replica every month. Switch it up. When you have a good artist, go with that. When you have a good prop replica, go with that. And get rid of the months where it was bad ones. Been saying it for months. I don't know if they'll ever do it, but I wish they would. Then we got a pin. I got Orko and I got the glitter variant, but you had another option. Same thing they've been doing as well, where they do 2 pins, but for some reason they don't do the main characters. They do these like off-brand side characters, which would make sense if it were like a Masters of the Universe box that was coming each month. Like, yeah, you get to the more obscure characters because you get tired of seeing the same people. But when it's just a random one-time pin, I really think they should have had the more popular characters. There's so many more popular characters they could have had other than these side characters. But, you know, not a big deal. But value on that goes for about $10 to $12, which is pretty standard for bandbox pins. They're very well done nonetheless. All right, then we got a decal. They've been calling it a peeker sticker, and I think this is going to be a continuing theme we see, but it's very nice in quality. So, and that goes for like $8 to $10, a good quality sticker. Last on the list, which is actually not listed on the card, is their little card packs. For the last few months, they've been trying to get some collectible cards going because I think they want to have a collectability to it. They were trying to do that with the art prints, and I think they're going with cards that they created themselves. I do appreciate that they didn't put it on the card because they don't consider it part of the box. They consider it just a bonus, which I appreciate. Because nothing was worse than when they would put like cards in or something like that, and they would consider that part of the value. And in all honesty, most of the time, they really didn't hold any value. So I wouldn't consider it part of the box. But if they put it in there as just a bonus, just a little freebie, fine. No problem with that. Doesn't really affect the value. Doesn't hurt or harm anything to put it in there. Just as long as they didn't take another item away and count this as an item, I think that's okay. And something else they've started doing is a trade-in program. So these card packs, I think, all have 4 cards with different rarities. They say the rarity right on the front here. And the common cards, if you have a lot of common ones, you can trade in 16 of those and get an 8x10 signed photo, which is fantastic for multiple reasons. One, everyone gets too many common cards, or commons of anything. Anything you collect that are blind, bag, or boxes, you get tons of commons that you just have nothing to do with. They're nearly impossible to sell because they're so cheap. Now they've fixed that problem. You can trade them in and get something you might actually want. And inadvertently what that does is it brings rarity and value to these cards. The things that are rare are obviously rare, but the things that are common are going to become rare because everyone's going to be trading them in, so no one's going to keep them because they'd rather have an 8x10 photo. So inadvertently, they're creating their own rarity, which is a good thing. And in all honesty, the quality of the cards is pretty nicely done. I'll show off the 4 I got. One of which was a hologram. I'll probably be showing a picture, which is better. I don't know why I pulled them out. You're not going to be able to see from here. But got 4 cards, one of which is a hologram. They're very nicely done. Most of them have a nice matte finish, and the ones that don't are the holograms. So they're well done, and they're all a parody of their Big Beast, their newest mascot from the merger, and they're parodying some characters. So they're well done to say nothing else. So I did want to give it some value, just because they have that trade-in option. And I did look it up, and some of these cards are starting to sell online. So small amounts, it's going to take a long time for them to gain traction, but it is happening. They've tried the past couple of months by giving individual cards, which was just never going to work. So now that they give different options, everyone gets something different. That does create some rarity, and now there's a series involved, so people can try to collect that. So they are starting to sell online, so it's a sign of good things to come. So that being said, I'm going to give the pack a $2 to $5 value, because if you do the math on the standard 8x10, how much that would cost, a signed autograph, I think it's signed, right? Yeah, autograph photo, and divided it by like 16, if you do some quick math, it does hold some value. And then factoring in what some of the prices they are selling for online, I came up with that $2 to $5 value. Very hard to give it any value because, well, one, it's hard to value things that are brand new and don't necessarily have value. Two, everyone gets something different. If you get a rare card, it could be worth a bunch of money if people collect it. If you get all commons, it could be worth next to nothing. So I wanted to give it some fair value. I appreciate that they don't count it as an item, so they don't consider it anything, but I think it deserves it because it looks like they put some real effort into it. And I do appreciate that this company tries to get the community involved. They try to get something collecting. They try to get some trading going. They have a whole community on Facebook. So I really appreciate that you can genuinely tell that they care about these boxes and they put effort into it, which is something that so many boxes are lacking. So things that I appreciate, moves that they're making to make the box better. Long-winded explanation. I promise I'm not getting paid to say these things. Just things that I have noticed and I appreciate. That being said, on the low end, the value is 48. On the high end, 62. So not great on the value. This ends up being like $45, $48, $50 box, depending on your state taxes. So on the low end, you're getting pretty much what you paid for. On the high end, a little bit more than 50%. But, I think that's probably more towards that high end of things. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10 because it wasn't great. The autograph wasn't super well known. I appreciate it. The art looked cool, but again, not a well-known artist. Pin was fine, good quality. A decal, good quality decal, but again, it's just a decal. And the cards have some potential value, but nothing really there. So all good stuff, things I enjoyed and appreciated and do have decent resale value, but nothing crazy, nothing super great, nothing that I was like, over the moon for, and the value is just okay. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Still a good box, but obviously room for improvement in the sense that not every autograph, not every month is going to be mind-blowing. There's going to be ups and downs. That's just perfectly normal, so no big deal there. That's kind of to be expected. But 6.5 on that. All right, and the last box. The big one, the mother lode, the Pusheen Box. This is their fall, Halloween, whatever you want to call it, 2022 box. I might just show a picture. I don't know if I'm going to pull everything out of here necessarily because it's just going to make a big mess. But let's start off with the obvious things. We got a figure, our Pusheen figure of Pusheen as a vampire. This one's going for a lot. It's always kind of random. Some of the figures are worth a ton, some not so much, and I'm assuming it has to do with what he's doing, like what kind of character she is. Someone mentioned that Pusheen is a she. I thought it was always a general thing, by the way, like a gender neutral. I always thought it was a he or a she. I thought it could go either way, but I apologize if I'm saying the wrong pronoun just in advance. So it depends on what the character is doing. This one's going for $30 to $35, which is much more than they usually do. They're usually around 20, 25, 30, again, depending on what Pusheen is doing. But I guess everyone loved the vampire style, so 30 to 35 on that, which is pretty significant. That's a lot for such a small figure. Next, we got a goblet. So this is kind of like a wine glass, but not. It doesn't have the skinny stem. So since it has a thick base, it's called a goblet. And the goblet goes for $25 to $30. And I'm assuming, I didn't actually check, but I'm assuming it's glass because there's styrofoam in there. So if it's glass, that's really well done. I appreciate the quality on that. So yeah, $25 to $30 on that. Next, one of the only cheaper things was this little trinket tray. It's in the shape of a bat, and it's got a little bat Pusheen on there. This is being listed for $12 to $15, but this is the only thing in there that's not really selling. So it's being listed for $12 to $15, but not selling for that, so it's hard to give it a value. But honestly, this is the only thing of the box that's not continuously selling, but I'm still going to give it a $12 to $15 value on that. Next, we got a tote bag, which is folded extremely tiny, so I'm assuming it's just very thin. But got Pusheen and his vampire self in this slim little tote bag, and that's going for about $15 to $20. And then one of the big items in here, it's not really a jacket, it's just like a cape. So it's a hood, and then it's a cape of Bat Pusheen. So there's his face, that's the part that goes over, and then the bat wings just kind of come out. We can pull it out. Smells weird. So the hood, and there's a little button in the front, and then it comes out to like bat wings. I'm not really sure what this is used for. Like, I've seen things like in different countries, in like London and stuff like that, they have like little raincoats that are just a hood and a cape. So maybe that's what they were going for, but kind of weird and random. But either way, that's going for about $40 to $50, which is more than the jackets and sweatshirts usually went for. So again, maybe it's just the theme, I'm not sure, but these things are going for a lot more than they normally do. The last items, we got a journal in here, and it's got like a felt material, so it's a little bit nicer. That's going for about $15 to $25. And then we got things like the stickers here and this little bookmark. I couldn't find any information on these two specifically, so I've valued them on what other ones from past months have gone for. So I just looked at different months. For the sticker, it's $7 to $8 because I can't imagine them being like super rare or anything like that. There might be a little bit of change in value, but can't imagine it being anything tremendous. Then the bookmark, same thing. Couldn't find this one specifically, but we've gotten plenty of bookmarks before, so $8 to $10 on that, and those sell pretty regularly. So again, of all these items, the only thing that didn't really sell was the tray, but that brings our value on the low end of $152, on the high end of $193. So even on the low end, you could easily pull $150 from these items. On the high end, almost quadruple what you paid for. This is like a 50, again, depending on your state tax, 50, 55, sometimes $60 box or somewhere in that range. So possibly worth quadruple, but more likely triple your value. And once again, all exclusive, all original, very specific, which I appreciate because you know exactly what you're getting. When you get a horror box, you don't know what horror character is going to show up. Obviously, you like horror if you get it, but there might be some horror characters you don't like as much. So it's always a toss-up. With Pusheen, this fucking cat is going to be on every fucking item that ever comes in this box, so you know exactly what to expect. And obviously, it's going to be in theme to whatever season it is because it is a quarterly box. So very specific and straight to the point, and they do good quality stuff. Like, obviously you can't feel this, but I can just tell you that very nice in quality. All the things are very nicely done, easily sellable and tradable. So once again, I'm going to give this box a 10 out of 10. Like, this is about as good as it gets. 100% exclusive, all nice quality things, easily sellable, high value. It really doesn't get much better than that. So this, for right now, is the best of the best. This is the best box out there right now as it stands, and none of the other boxes are even coming close to this. I really don't know how they're able to put this much stuff in here for such a low value. But yeah, 10 out of 10 on that. Alright, kept this video nice and short. Sweet. So, that was the boxes of September. Where's Loot Crate, by the way? I don't fucking know. Who knows where Loot Crate is? They're behind again. 2 months behind. We're still waiting on September and August boxes. They were 6 months behind before. Now add another 2 months to that once again, which just makes no sense. None of this makes any sense. That I understand that there are holdups from COVID, which was a long time ago, by the way, that there are holdups with shipping. I get it. But to have everything in all your boxes held up at the same time, that's weird. Something's weird about that. Then all of a sudden, we got our boxes just randomly for a short window of time, and now they're held up again. Some have been held up this whole time for over a year. Doesn't make any sense, and there's no explanation for it. Something fishy is going on with that company. I don't know what it is. And they're, again, just stealing money at this point. Just taking our money and not giving us anything in return, which is really shitty. But one thing that did show up was the TMNT crate, I think the second, third one, something like that. That did show up, and I consider putting it in here, but I'm going to do that in a separate video because it's not monthly. So if I do a video next week, that will most likely be the video. So you will see that if you're interested in it. It'll get its own special video. Other than that, thank you for watching and supporting. Let me know your thoughts, anything you want to see, questions you have, comments, concerns. Let me know in the comments. I read them all, and we'll talk about it there. Other than that, thank you for watching and supporting as always. See you in the next video. Love you all. Peace.